Hey everybody, welcome back to another news roundup. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. I've got a couple of topics for today, specifically one big thing that happened this week, today actually being April 18th. So we're going to discuss that later, but we got a couple of topics here and there to discuss for this week. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. So the very first thing that we're going to discuss is the Rust trial. We have a sentence finally for the Rust armor. She has been sentenced to a year in prison, and she'll be serving estimated time of 18 months in jail following a Monday hearing. This past Monday, there was a hearing in court, and there's that. And Alec Baldwin is still due for his trial this summer, I believe, sometime in July. So, good. Justice has been served. If you've watched the trial, if you've read it like the day that the incident happened, if you've seen the evidence, she is guilty. She may not have intended on killing anybody, but her actions tell a different story. So, a better person wouldn't have been so careless in her position, and she wasn't better. So good to see that the system, the judicial system is, still working, and probably won't work in Alec Baldwin's case because he probably has more persuasion than the armor does, aka more money on the table. So, but yeah, it happened, and she deserved punishment, and now she has it. So there's nothing more to say than that. So there you have that. Next topic is revolving around an actor that we've discussed in the past a long time ago. I don't know why he keeps bringing it up, but Ray Fisher, who you guys know as Cyborg, basically the only thing that he's known for, he took to social media again to bring up the troubling production that was on the Justice League set. For those who know about the history surrounding the Justice League set, there were issues, some accusations that were thrown around, and namely Walter Hamada was in the mix. And the reason why he took to social media was because of the announcement of Walter Hamada producing the R-rated Ninja Turtles movie, which we discussed on the last news roundup. He is demanding for an apology again from Hamada. Sorry. And the reason for that is because he was the former head of the DC division at Warner Brothers prior to James Gunn's hiring. So, this could be summed up in 3 words, honestly. This is 7 years ago now when all this was brought up and all this stuff happened. My response to that is just simply this: let it go. Let it go. It's been 7 years. You got your investigation. He had an investigation done, and they found, nothing. And we all know that perhaps something did happen on the set, but, fact of the matter is, he got his investigation. You got the director's cut, which the studio only made because they were trying to sell their streaming service, but then the pandemic happened, and then that sort of sale just became irrelevant in making that film, so it just got dumped on the streaming service practically. But hey, it exists. So Hamada is no longer in charge, so there's also that. Not to mention that you were fired from the DC universe. The DC universe itself has now been rebooted. It's all in the past, dude. Just let it go. Let it go. As this is all in the past, it's kind of like your career at this point. Everyone has moved on. Every single person has moved on. Ben Affleck, all these people, they don't care. So your entire career is just this incident and this one rule. That's it. You've made your case. Just move on, dude. Seriously. Just move on. Like I am with this topic. So moving on. Let's move into something more interesting. Namely Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese, still working on films today. Worked on Killers of the Flower Moon last year, which I liked, didn't love, but liked enough. He's got two films in the pipe, namely shooting two projects back to back, it looks like. The first of which is a film called Life of Jesus, which potentially could star Andrew Garfield or Miles Teller, and that's looking to begin filming in Israel sometime later this year, which may prove difficult given the current conflict in those regions, but we'll see how that plays out. The second of which is a Frank Sinatra biopic, which is interesting, which would star Leonardo DiCaprio as Frank Sinatra and Jennifer Lawrence as Frank's second wife. So, and Sony Pictures is looking to potentially distribute, but Apple, who financed Killers of the Flower Moon, reportedly wants to stay in business with Scorsese. I'm not sure why, because Killers of the Flower Moon was a flop, but okay, that's why Netflix stepped away from The Irishman, or stepped away from Martin Scorsese after The Irishman, because The Irishman didn't perform well. So, I have no idea where Apple's getting at, but who knows? But between the two proposed ideas, I'm more attracted by his religious stories than his "I'm not a gangster, but we'll have the attitude one" type movies. Because I mean, we know Sinatra has that kind of background, so like, you know, that'd be more of Scorsese's wheelhouse essentially, and I'm kind of disenchanted with that sort of attitude. I'm more interested in the smaller scale project that he's working on. That just, I don't know, it seems more interesting to me, and it seems overall with Scorsese, it seems to be where his passion is going. So, and especially after long movies that he usually likes to do, because let's be frank, Frank Sinatra, that film is going to be like maybe it's a 3-hour long thing. I am not ready for that. Give me something like Life of Jesus, but he said he wants to make as small as possible, so like an hour and a half. Yes, I'll take that, please. So yeah, I'm interested in that more than the Frank Sinatra film, personally. Going from one director to the next, let's talk about Quentin Tarantino. So Quentin Tarantino was working on his proposed final film called The Movie Critic, which was initially a period piece set in the late 70s revolving around a cynical film critic. I could have sworn this story revolved around a porn magazine. Like the film critic was writing reviews for a porn magazine. I could thought that was the case, but I guess not. I don't know where I heard that information from, but well, that film, The Movie Critic, has been officially dropped, so he's no longer going to be working on that as his final film. He claims to just simply have a change of heart, and he's just looking to do something new. And sources say that the film was so initially it was meant to be its own thing, but then it slowly started to morph into a prequel or a sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, with Brad Pitt reprising his role from that film. So that's why Brad Pitt was looking to star in this film. Not for that film critic part, but for I forgot the name of the character that he plays, Cliff something, from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So, my thoughts, okay. I mean, if he felt like doing something different, good. I mean, it's his thing. So, I could see why he left it, because like it started to become a sequel or so to something else he's done. It's not much of his style, and also for the better. I mean, go for something more original than just piggybacking on something you've done previously. Unless you consider Kill Bill for what it is, or what Tarantino thinks it is, But he likes to do original pieces, or at least albeit mainly period pieces with like cinematic language of that time, feeling it. That's pretty much his trademark, his style. But more or less, by definition, by story, he likes to do something original. So hey, I mean, take your time. I mean, he's already made 10 films. If you ask me, yes, Kill Bill is two separate films released at two separate times. I don't care what Tarantino intended on making Kill Bill. What is two separate films. But yeah. So I mean, it'll be interesting to know what his next project will be. But we'll just have to wait and see. So, all right. Got a couple of trailers that I want to discuss. Just two. There was an M. Night Shyamalan thing that came out today called Trap. I didn't watch it. I just don't really care for M. Night Shyamalan at this point. I think the last thing I saw of his, I think it was his last film, was Old. I really didn't like Old. And talking about style, like, I'm not big on Tarantino, namely because of how redundant his style is. I echo the same sentiment to Shyamalan. I just am tired of every film having a twist or this and that. It's just overplayed, and also just makes for his stories to be very thin. So, so just wanted to say that up front, just because I know that trailer came out. I just don't care to watch it. So, but the two that I did watch, the one that we'll talk about first, is a new trailer for Longlegs came out, which is the Nicolas Cage serial killer or cult leader film, starring also Micah Monroe, being directed by Oz Perkins, who previously directed The Black Coat's Daughter, which I believe was an A24 film, and recently Greta and Hansel. So, we've discussed this film before on this channel, mainly in deceptive marketing, and I do believe that this is an example of that, because what these trailers have offered to me, and the reason why I bring up the second trailer, because I don't usually watch second trailers, is because the first trailer really didn't provide, it was like, it pretty much told me everything I needed to know about the film. It pretty much just spelled it out for me, so watching a second trailer was just kind of going to validate my feeling. So, it wasn't more or less where I was like, oh, well, there actually is some ambiguity or some mystery here. Let me not watch any more of this, Like, it pretty much just told me everything that it is, Because these trailers feel more like smoke and mirrors to me. It's not anything more informative of, like, the general quality of the film. The general story, it's telling you everything. Like, I already feel like I got the story figured out because of how blatant the imagery is, the piecing from the trailer, the title being very on the nose. We've discussed it before. What are they not telling you from the phrase, Daddy Longlegs? The movie's called Longlegs. They're not telling you the daddy part, so come on. We know what it's about. Like I'll pitch you my prediction on what I believe the story is, and if in the future, when the movie comes out, if this is legit, let me know. My guess, so it's about a daughter of a cult whose father is the leader of the group. So the girl, Micah, is the daughter, Nicolas Cage is the father. The daughter somehow escapes from the environment, changes her identity, and lives life now as a private investigator. And her past comes to haunt her, and in her position, now being a private investigator, is finally gonna get some closure that she's been needing for like a long, long time. That's my guess. That's my guess as to what the story is, because aesthetically, it just seems pretty blatant. So it just seems more or less like just an attempt at clever marketing, but just not really doing as well. So not really big on this. I'm more big on talking about it, honestly. I might check it out for Nicolas Cage, because it'd be interesting to see him in that role, just to see how he plays that role, because Nicolas Cage as of late has been very interesting. So yeah. So not much to really talk about there, except it just seems so blatant, and I just don't see why everyone's so getting hyped over it. But that's just my thoughts on that. And then finally, of course, the big trailer that came out this week, we're going to discuss for a little bit, is Transformers 1, the latest in the Transformers franchise, the second animated film in the series. First being Transformers the movie back in 1985, which I may or may not have talked about for a film of the week this week. I'm still debating on that as of this recording, but if I did, you guys will know my thoughts there. But discussing Transformers 1 proper, this is a prequel, or at least taking place before any of the movies or anything like that. It's an origin story, so we're following Orion Pax, not Optimus Prime, and being voiced by Chris Hemsworth, as well as Alita 1, played by Scarlett Johansson. Bumblebee, by Keegan-Michael Key. Brian Tyree Henry plays Megatron. Being directed by Josh Cooley, guy who gave us Toy Story 4, which I liked Toy Story 4 quite a bit. And please stop doing Toy Story movies, please. Please. But the trailer came out, and I'll say this first. I'm not opposed to the cast. I'm actually surprised by Chris Hemsworth. I think that the voice works, mainly due to the delivery, because, nothing is going to be Peter Cullen, obviously. I mean, that's prime. But Chris Hemsworth's, his attempt here is actually good. It's not like he's just talking. He's actually putting in some effort to create the voice. And from what I heard, Peter Cullen actually worked with Chris Hemsworth on this movie, so that might have been an influence on that, on how the voice is crafted. But the way I'll say it is that it has the flavor of Prime, but it is not a complete impression. He's not trying to impersonate Prime, which is good. So I was actually pleasantly surprised with the voice of Prime. But this is not Prime. Remember, this is Orion Pax, so there's a little bit more leeway as to how the voice can sound. But it's good to hear that little bit of Prime in there. So I like that. And generally, the voices themselves are okay. The one that kind of doesn't work for me really is Megatron. I wasn't really big on that voice. I think Scarlett Johansson sounds fine. Keegan-Michael Key, when I heard him casted, watching the trailer, I just turned off the fact that it was Bumblebee. I accepted it basically right away. I was like, okay, it's Keegan-Michael Key, so and it's not a bad pick, but it's, if I were to think of it hard enough, it probably would annoy me, but I'm choosing not to, because I don't know. It didn't really dawn on me when it happened. I was just like, oh, okay, it's Keegan-Michael Key. So, but yeah, I'm not opposed to the cast. What I am opposed to is the animation style, because when the first frame of the trailer was presented, I was off-putted, but mainly by the fact that I was expecting something different aesthetically, but I gave it a chance. And then the first few frames showed, and immediately what was shown to me was textures that are way too flat and lacking in distinct characteristics in the models. It's literally the same base model. It's as if someone worked on one model, maybe Optimus Prime first, and then they just copied and pasted to each of the characters. Alita looks the same, Bumblebee, all of them look pretty much the same. And just different colors and different plating, basically. That's basically all that there is in difference. And that's just lazy. I know the film will say because they're all the same race. I know what they'll do to justify it, but they don't all have to look the same. If you've looked at different material, just get nerdy for a second, if you've played the video games, the War for Cybertron games, they have very distinct looks, so, and they don't have to be so skinny either. You can put some meat on these characters. So yeah, I take issue with the look, because you could have gone the extra mile. When I look at the look of this film, it just screams more polishing, because you could have gone the extra mile and made them all different, but they wanted to be easy on themselves, essentially, and that's why that's what the models say to me, is that they're just being lazy on that front. Also, it's 3D rendered, And I'm not happy about that because, one, that explains why everything is so flat. And that also means that the film was designed for 3D. And I hate when movies force in gimmicks like that, because apparently they showed footage at CinemaCon in 3D, and that basically confirms just the design of the film, and that has me very concerned. Um, so I take issue with how it looks. I'm not really won over by it, but to get nerdy for a second, just to let my love for Transformers show, because if you guys also know, based on this channel, I am a huge fan of Transformers. I have other comments to make. So, first of all, what's with Cybertron? It's way too humane. Way too humane. Like, what's with there's grass, there's all these other things. Like, where's the hard metal plating? Where's the hard metal contrast? Like, it's trying to be so familiar for the viewer. Like, I want the latter. I wanted something different. Like, kind of echoing like the Bumblebee scene from the beginning of Bumblebee on Cybertron. Like, I want it to be all metal. I want to feel like it's just mechanical, but there's not that much of it. And also by designs of the characters, there's very human features. Like, the characters have teeth. Like, the characters have teeth, and like also, again, getting back to style and animation, just again the texturing being so flat and the lacking in that distinction. Like, just look at them from top to bottom. The legs, the arms, all of it. It looks familiar, and it has to do, I think, with just laziness, with them not wanting to create more models, or perhaps they just didn't want to blow through their budget, because it also feels as though that there's a little bit of a tight budget with this. So, because you compare the Bumblebee Cybertron sequence to what we're seeing here, you can see where more of the money's gone. But I'm not blown away, but I'm not completely against it. I know it sounds like I am, but I'm not completely against it. It has the potential to be like competently fun. That's the way I'll put it. Like, just removing my attachments from the source material and just my overall issues on an aesthetic front. Like, it seems like it could be fun enough, but I wish that it was stylistically more interesting. And on a more personal note, I wish it was just more faithful. Just because I think that the lore has so much to offer, and it sucks that they chose to go for something. I like that the fact that they're going to do something different, but the choice of what I'm seeing on an aesthetic front, it's just, and like I said, Transformers fan or not, like, it just doesn't really work for me. Mainly with the inserting of 3D. If they did insert 3D into the render, then I think the shading could balance out a little bit. Because I think that's what's really turning me off when I look at the framing of, like, just all the looks of the characters and just the textures, the backgrounds. That might be what's turning me off from it, but yeah, I'm kind of more disappointed. That's the way I'll say. I'm more disappointed mainly by how it looks, but maybe it could be decent fun. I have potential. I mean, it seems there could be potential for it. But to all my Transformers fans out there, though, can you guys agree that this has more aesthetically in common with Earthspark than anything else? I mean, this screams of Earthspark to me. So yeah, I wasn't big on Earthspark, but yeah, wasn't crazy about the trailer. Wasn't crazy about it really at all. So, but yeah, we'll see how it plays out. But those are my thoughts for this week. That is going to be it for this week's news roundup. Let me know all your thoughts on all these topics in the comment section below. Your thoughts on the Transformers trailer, your thoughts on Quentin Tarantino stepping away from his final film, working on something different. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.